And now, a program segment from the NPT production of Memories of Nashville.
One place in Nashville that remains as beautiful today as it did many years ago is Centennial Park, with ducks and swings, a plane and a train, and even a replica of the temple to the goddess Athena.
The center of community activities for us probably was Centennial Park, which was for me a sort of wonderland. There was everything you needed to do to have fun as a child, whether it was slide down the slides or swing the swings or play in the sand pile or shout out in the Parthenon so you'd hear your voice echo across that vast expanse of concrete.
Probably the biggest thing I remember about coming over here is always wanting to come over here to feed the ducks. I even remember getting a duck one year, I think, for Easter, and eventually bringing it over here and turning it loose in Watauga Lake. We used to come and play and look at the airplane. The jet plane had been placed in the park at that time when I was small, and then there was the train. I think I liked the train better because you couldn't get in the airplane. The airplane was up there, the jet, you could look at it, but you couldn't get into it. You could get in the train. You could go up there and act like you were driving or riding on the train, and so that was always a lot of fun.
For about 10 years, I lived within 2 blocks of Centennial Park. The years that I grew up around Centennial Park was during the period of segregation. So here we are in this community and have this huge, wonderful park, and I couldn't go. And I wasn't comfortable there when I could go or when I was able to go. But we did play in the park during off hours. I can remember that there was a baseball park right on 23rd at Centennial Park. And what we would do is go in the park and play on the baseball field when nobody was there.
The park was the central place in my life. I swam in that swimming pool every summer, got blistered, learned how to dive off the diving board, learned how to swim underwater.
I learned to swim at the old pool that was here in Centennial Park. It's where I took my learn to swim lessons. I guess I was maybe 7 or 8, 9 years old. There were several other pools that the Parks Department had that were out in Sevier Park, and there was one over near Cone High School, and some over in East Nashville that were their learn to swim pools. They were much smaller in size, but this one over here at Centennial was one of their larger ones, and they were quite heavily used up until the city, unfortunately, couldn't decide whether to desegregate them or not.
I can remember actually going over to the Parthenon side of the park and getting run out of the park, trying to fish there in the little lake and being asked to leave. I swam in the swimming pool one time. I didn't swim there much more because they filled it with concrete. Rather than to have us in the pool, they concreted it. They did the same thing at the fairgrounds, the huge Cascades pool. They covered it up.
There was an event in Centennial Park with a public pool. And it was decided that instead of carrying on integration, they would close the pool. And there's not a swimming pool in Centennial Park to this very day.
There was a strong movement not to desegregate and let blacks in, and unfortunately, nobody was allowed to use the pools for a number of years. And as a child, you didn't think much about it, but when you reflect back on it as an adult, you really see that was probably one of the more shameful periods for Nashville to take a great amenity like that and not let anybody use it, and especially not to let people of color use it.
Although the once popular public pool never reopened, it was resurrected as the present-day art center for all Nashvillians. Despite the unfortunate circumstances of the 60s, Centennial remains a beautiful, vital park and one of Nashville's gems.
If you look at the park today and wander through it, it's inevitable that you're going to think back, particularly if you read some of the writing on some of the monuments. It's inevitable that you will think back to the first centennial of this city, which was when Centennial Park got its name and when it really became a place of recreation and substance. The park was a wonderful place.